Hello there. Welcome. This is Michael Mirdad sharing spiritual insights for a Friday evening. Today we're going to talk about the truth about boundaries and codependence, or another way to look at it is boundaries as a cure for codependence. So let's look at this as clearly, as concisely as possible. There's still so much confusion about this, and I love sharing in a way that can kind of cut through the stuff, and let's get to it. So let's talk about what seems to be a problem first. You know, there are people who say they deal with alcoholism, other people drug addiction, other people this disease of addiction and that one, and so on and so on. What human beings don't seem to realize is the most rampant disease on the planet is actually codependence. It is the greatest addiction, let's put it that way. The number one addiction. Here's why. Not everybody has an addiction of alcoholism. Not everybody has medicine addiction, illegal, drugs. Not everyone has illegal drug addictions. But definitely, not everybody has a food addiction. But most everybody has the addiction called codependence. And even though all addictions really have the same genesis or digression, codependence is the most rampant. And it's because it has the same definition as all the other addictions, which is this. And notice the similarity of spiritual teachings throughout the world from various teachers. Notice how teachings connect here. Human beings believe that they're separate from God and from each other. And this creates a sense of emptiness inside. That emptiness is going to need to be dealt with in some way. Our emptiness becomes either anxiousness or depression. We feel this emptiness, we feel off, we feel something, and then we start to feel anxious or depressed. If we feel anxious, we're going to need to be sedated. If we start to feel depressed, we need to feel stimulated. So everybody's looking for some form of that. The problem is we feel empty. We reach out for something to fill the emptiness. Nothing fills the emptiness, so we go and try it again. That's addiction. As soon as you try to fix something using a synthetic, not just synthetic chemically, synthetic meaning outside of ourselves, means you're now in a cycle. You're in a pattern, and it's endless because one needs to feed the other. As soon as I feel empty and I try something and it doesn't fill me, oh my God, I'm desperate. I'm even more empty and more desperate. I need it. I need even more of it. And there you go, off into addictions. But not all of us choose drugs or alcohol or food or whatever. But what we tend to not realize is our relationships are absolutely riddled with and rampant, filled with this same problem, this emptiness, and what it's called is codependence. Codependence, in a sense, translated to mean where I have become dependent. I'm drug dependent. I'm alcohol dependent. I'm food dependent. I'm people dependent. And again, more people are people dependent than any other addiction. What does it mean to be people dependent? It means I have forgotten who I am. I feel an emptiness inside, and I really would appreciate it if you, anyone, anything outside of me, not just people, anything outside of me would make me feel different. I feel down, pick me up. I feel up, take me down a bit. Or as relationships go, you make me feel so wonderful. Or you're the blame of me not feeling wonderful. See, that's all codependent because it's not interdependent. It's not responsible here. It's reactive to things on the outside. So think of it that way. Codependence is like that. We think we're empty, and then we start reacting to and dependent upon people. People don't like us. It's depressing. People are upset with us. That's anxiety, creating. So we all become very neurotic. We all become very reactive and neurotic. We have to react, and we have to fill this void somehow. We become hyper anxious and trying to fix everything because it's off. The problem is we keep thinking everyone outside or everything outside is what's making us feel off. Responsibility takes it the other direction. So we're feeling off, we're feeling disconnected from each other, from love, from God. We're feeling disconnected from answers, solutions, healings. Where am I going to get this? And we, in a way, science is right that sometimes science says, or sometimes psychiatry says, in a way, religion is almost like a form of a spiritual or mental aspirin to deal with pain. And then they scoff and say, it's all a joke, it's all false, and they think there's nothing to it, because they're missing something too. They're missing God, and the religions are missing God all too often, even though they talk about God. They don't know how to create the solution, which is to be filled with the presence of God. And as I'm filled with the presence of God, I start to be filled with the presence of me, myself. I'm here, I'm awake. And anything that happens, I'm aware that it's my doing. It's a reflection of my experience inside. And that's when we start to wake up and show up again. We become responsible. So there's another way to look at this and it's very important to understand there are only 3 relationships you can have. And if you're a student of mine, or if you watched me before on these various topics, you'll already know what I'm going to say. But there are only 3 relationships you can have. One is with God, one is with yourself, and one is with others, which includes anything outer from yourself. People, your car, your house, even objects like that. So we have relationships with God, self, and others. How are you doing with those? Well, I believe in God, and I really like people, but I just really have low self-esteem. That's one relationship being off. I love God, and I really think I'm a pretty decent person, but other people are messed up. That's an incomplete connection. Oh, I love other people. I even like myself, but I don't believe in God. That's another relationship that's disconnected. See, the Sufis say you have to have all 3 intact. Here's the extra piece. Not only intact, but in the proper order of priority. The connection with spirit comes first. That does not mean you're supposed to perfect your relationship with God before you start working on your relationship with yourself, and then you perfect that before others. It just means, what is the priority? What is the most important of the 3? We're always working on all 3 to one degree or another. And believe it or not, once again, let me go back and say, my failure with any one of these or more of these will become something where I start to feel empty again, afraid and empty, and then usually blame it on something outside. And that creates another codependent loop that we end up into. And it's a karmic loop. It's a karmic loop because as soon as I throw out a loop of codependence, like, I'm happy except now you've ruined my day, or you've ruined my life, or you've done this to me or that to me, it throws out this loop that will come back to me. For example, I'm not saying people are not sometimes selfish and hurtful. All too often they are, because they're disconnected. And they're thinking they're going to gain something by taking something from us, and it'll give them something, but it doesn't work. So guess what? They're codependent now, because they're in an addictive cycle of, I tried to take from others, like you as a child, or you as a man, or you as a woman, or you as an employee, or whatever. I tried to take from you, and dang if it didn't work. I still don't feel full enough. I need to take more. And now they're in an addictive cycle of taking, but we're all then, if we react or get involved, we're now in that, and they put out that codependent cycle again. When we jump in and react to it, we're then part of it too. So these codependent cycles become wheels within wheels. They start to mesh, and the gears grind and work together. This person moves this way, and they can cause us to move because they say snap, they say go, they say react. And they don't literally say it, but they do something that causes us a reaction, and we're only buying into it because we forgot our center. So, God, you can remember this all the way back to school. Kids teasing other kids. All too often that hurt. When we did it, it wasn't right. And when they did it to us, it hurts. But the truth is, if we really knew who we were, it would have never bothered us. It's the truth. It would have never bothered us. That's why we're going to talk about boundaries. But we have to understand codependence, and we have to understand what boundaries really are. That's why I'm saying this is the truth about codependence and boundaries. Or it's a perspective of boundaries, which are the solution to codependence. So people ask all the time. I've done video sets. You see some of the stuff I've done behind me. There are video sets, some of which are on codependence, boundaries, some of them. Some of these are free online, check them out. Some of them are on DVDs, check them out. But I've written some books as well. Down here, you see behind me here. It should be about there, I'm kind of guessing. This is the relationship book. This would be I wrote a book, Creating Fulfilling Relationships. What's the subtitle? Turning cellmates into soulmates. Imprisoned cellmates into soulmates. Get it back to love. Away from the confinement, imprisonment, karmic relationships. Because our relationships take generally two forms: karmic relationships and gifting relationships. Codependent relationships will keep creating karmic relationships. Karmic meaning what? Oh, here we go again. Here's someone again abusing, taking advantage, not seeing me, not hearing me, etc. And then there's gifting relationships, which are reflecting to us the progress we made in learning how to trim back the codependent relationships and nurture healthy boundaries. When we do that, the universe says, my, look who woke up and matured today. It seems to me that your consciousness has now risen. We might as well bring you relationships that reflect your new level of consciousness. Those are called gifting relationships. They're gifts. And they're earned. They don't just show up randomly. God, even though I've done no personal work, a lot of people do this, it's just nutty. God, I have done no personal work whatsoever, but I'm going to get married again. Hope it works out, and they expect it to work out. If you're no different from your last 15 marriages, how's it going to be different on your 16th marriage? It's so silly. It's just nutty. Why would you expect something different if you're not different? I would rather be able to say, I feel significantly different before I go into another relationship. Significantly. I feel like I understand codependence, and it's not the cycles I run in all the time. And it's not the machinery and mechanism I think with and react to all the time. I feel healthier, clearer, better relationship with God's self, and willing to share that with others, and experience gifting relationships because I feel better, healthier boundaries moving this direction. Fantastic. And this can be done. But it doesn't happen just because you hope it does. It can only happen by us working at ourselves to become better people, to grow and become better, healthier people. And that is a good thing, to become better, healthier people. We can go, oh, but I don't want to do that. Can I just not get somebody nice? That's just showing the strength of the addiction. I don't want to feel better. I don't want to go to the gym, and I don't want to eat differently. I just want to take some medication or a drug to make me feel better. There are people that do drugs to feel more spiritual. God, my mind's really expansive when I'm killing brain cells with this particular drug. That's kind of ridiculous. People don't realize it's worth it to do the actual authentic personal transformation instead of quick fixes. So, all that said, the codependence is something we get into. It's a mirror of karmic, imprisoned relationships, and what we're looking for is freedom. Soulmates, not a one and only exclusive soulmate. That's another misnomer, and we'll talk about that maybe some other time. Let's talk about soulmates and cellmates, or soulmates and twin souls, and the version of soulmates versus cellmates and twin souls versus this and that. We'll talk about that another time. But codependence, guys, this is so beautiful. To really understand codependence, you can watch hours and hours of videos and tapes and this and that, and go to workshops and lectures, and it'll get you nowhere if you don't really understand the full picture. If all we do is say, you're codependent and your parents taught you to be codependent and you need to break that cycle, you can only heal so much with that information. Even though you can do a weekend workshop on that topic that I just described, it's your parents' fault. You can still only heal so much. The truth is, if you do not understand that it's a spiritual relationship, it's a spiritual thing, it's a personal thing, and it's a relationship thing with others. If you don't understand the holisticness of this whole program, this whole topic, then you're not going to heal completely. So what I'm missing is not, if I only had someone to hold me sometimes, if I only had someone to keep me warm at night. So all you're describing is, if I only had more money, if I only had a pot of gold and someone to keep me warm, and if only, and if only. If only is an affirmation of the ego. It affirms I do not have, I need, and if only I had, I would feel differently. It's a lie. I do have, but I forgot. Where do I have, I wonder? First, foremost, it all comes from the source, God. I have forgotten who I am, Father, Mother, God. Please remind me. Show me my value, because I've forgotten. Show me my lovability, because I've forgotten. Get back in touch with this thing and let it fill you with your value. Let it fill you with peace that you thought things could give you. Let it fill you with value that you thought something else would give you and usually don't give you. The world loves dangling a carrot saying, come on, jump, here we go, try again. And we keep doing it. When we realize, oh my God, Spirit's here. I'm as close to God as my own skin, essentially. It's a metaphor. The song, Hey Jude. The movement you need is on your shoulder. Remember that line? The movement you need is on your shoulder, and what he meant by that is everything you need is as close as your own shoulder. The very movement you need, the thing, the change you need, anything you need is as close as your own being. God is right here, and I need to nurture a relationship with it. How? Prayer and meditation primarily. We'll keep it simple. Commune with God. In one word, in two words, prayer and meditation. Got it. And I'll be doing that on a regular basis now, not once and then never. This is my life now. My being, any of us, right? Next relationship, me. How do I have a better relationship with myself? First of all, I need to take a regular practice, not an obsessive practice, but a regular practice of self-healing. In one word, it's called becoming responsible. In two words, self-healing on a consistent basis in my relationship with self, self-healing, and learning to set healthier boundaries. That, in one word, those two things, self-healing and boundaries, are in one word, responsibility. So check this out. If you really want to be a healthy, whole person, learn to have communion with God, prayer and meditation, responsibility with self, self-healing and healthy boundaries, and connection with others through healthy communication and practicing healthy connection in the form of intimacy. So healthy communication and healthy intimacy. We're not talking sex. It can include that. But we're talking connection, affection, eye contact, listening to one another, healthy communication, intimacy on a level of, I'm here with you. Whether you're my child, I'm here with you. How are you, honey? Or whether you're my partner, hey, sweetheart, how are you? I'm here with you. It's connecting with things, even your own animals. Instead of just, hey, Rover, how are you? It's a being. Hi, honey, how are you? How are you, dog? Whatever animal it happens to be. Connection, communion, responsibility, connection. That's the holy trinity of relationships. The middle one, boundaries, helps us in dealing with codependence that we seem to have with others. Most often with others, it's acted out. It really originates in our own belief we're missing stuff inside. Connection, right? Connection and responsibility. Those are all screwed up. They're all in shambles. So now I need codependence with people instead of connection. So start asking yourself, am I connected or codependent? Well, if you think you're connected and you don't have these, you're lying to yourself. You cannot truly have healthy connection. You could have a minor version of it. You can have a synthetic version of it. You can't have a real version of connection with others if you don't have communion and responsibility, because everything is a progression like this. The creation process starts in the heavens and comes to the earth, and so do healthy relationships, the creation of healthy relationships. And as we're going in the last portion of this, boundaries are part of our relationship with ourselves. And it's acted out towards others, it's worked towards others and with others, but it's really something we birth within ourselves. And when I say that, I want to clarify. Technically, your relationship with yourself is rooted ultimately in your connection with God. When you know to love and rely upon God as our guide, that naturally connects to having more trust in ourselves because we know we're safe. We know we're guided. We know we're in touch with the highest of the high. So we start to have better self-esteem because we know we just made the greatest choice we could ever make on earth, which is to recognize our healthy dependence, not codependence, healthy dependence upon God, like a child saying, Father, Mother God, show me, guide me. It's fantastic. Unhealthy codependence has made us think that that concept of vulnerability and surrender to spirit is somehow weak and unhealthy, but that's because it wants us going another direction without God. Anyway, in this center, we're learning to have a healthy relationship with ourselves, but I cannot learn to set healthy boundaries towards others or have them well rooted in me without having a certain amount of connection with God. Love, oneness, a sense of connection and trust and so on, so with God. And so here's how this works now, looking at it kind of just in a fluid kind of fashion. Here's the flow. Out here in this world, I seem to exist. Now, let me do something here. You have this three, God, self, and others. Now watch. Technically, if you turn this way, notice how God is not seen anymore, but it's deep inside. So God's still there, but it's deep inside of me. Where am I? I'm here too, just not that visible. What I typically see when I look in my world is others, everything outer and other. People don't know usually or remember how to learn how to turn within and find these other relationships. To learn to love yourself so much that you're not afraid or intimidated to look at yourself. There's a belief, it's true belief, that people are afraid of their own shadow. Remember that line? What are you, afraid of your own shadow? Yeah. Not just the creature under the bed. It's the ones in my head. People are afraid of their low self-worth. That's the key right there. If we knew who we were, we wouldn't be afraid of anything, least of all, looking within. We think that we are somehow inherently flawed. We think we're somehow messed up. We've lost love for ourselves because we seem to have left Kansas and, we're Dorothy on The Wizard of Oz. We're not in Kansas anymore. What kind of fool are we for? We've hurt Auntie M and we've hurt our uncles and so on back home. Look at all we've done. We've devastated the lives of these people because of our selfish, hurtful behavior. We didn't. When we really look within, we're going to realize if ever I've done anything other than love, it would have been because I was afraid. And I no longer need to be afraid. So I can make amends and apologize for any and all things. And I have no problem, I meaning any of us, I learned to not have an issue with that, to be able to say, wow, if that seemed hurtful, it certainly wasn't in my mind, but I apologize anyway. Or the times when we did intend to be hurtful. That's not very cool, is it? So we say, I get it, but no matter who and how vicious we have been, who we've been or how vicious, the truth is we never would have acted that way if we truly knew who we were spiritually. Which means, what's the solution? Punishing that person doesn't cure them. You just wait till they come back in another lifetime and do what? When they do it again to someone else or have it done to them karmically? Do you think that cures them? It actually doesn't. Then what's the cure? Well, it's so simple. You could ask a 5-year-old and they could probably figure this out. If the problem is that people do not know who they are, what's the solution? Remembering. Okay, then let's just hope that everybody remembers. Or we can start learning to remember for them. When I forgive people, I, again, meaning any of us, when I forgive people, I'm either going to do it from a fine, I forgive you, which is not heartfelt and it's not real, nor is it effective. Or I forgive people like this. This person forgot who they were and therefore they did what they did. One thing I can do right now is say to them in my mind, not necessarily in person, but in my mind at least, you've done this because you forgot who you are, and what I'm going to do for you is a favor. I'm going to release you to find who you are. You are not necessarily the hurtful person. The hurtful person is not healthy, and I'm not interested in knowing you are participating in this, But the real you, I affirm that there is a real you somewhere, and I release you to find that. And that's quite a beautiful gesture, because what it's meaning is, beyond what you've said and done, the person, the external, I'm affirming that inside there is a light that you have forgotten. And clearly, it's likely that it's a light that I've not seen in you, especially if your behavior was hurtful. So there's that piece. Now, again, back to the final piece, how boundaries play in. It looks just like this. Again, codependence is rampant. It's coming from our own self-esteem or self-worth issues. And so people prey upon that, and then we play back. Codependence is not just mean people. You know, some people say, oh, I have a girlfriend and she really lets people take advantage. She's so codependent. Codependence is not just for victims. It's for both. Both people, the victimizers and the victims, are codependent. One has low self-worth and they let people use them, they're codependent. The other has low self-worth and so they trample on people to try to make up for their low self-worth, they're codependent people. Isn't that beautiful? All of this has been made far more complicated than it is. If you can summarize it right, it's not complicated. Yes, it's multi-layered and all that, but it's really quite simple. Remember? What's the definition again? Oh, there's codependence and this doctor said that and this author said that. And stop. People forgot who they are. They start to feel hurt and desperate and empty inside. So they bargain themselves away. They either go and take from others or give to others, one form or another, to try to fill the void. It does not work, so they become even more desperate and do it more and more and with more people. So it's a disease that spreads, because I'm not going to act it out with one person. I'm going to try 2, 3, 5,000 and so on. And after many lifetimes, there's no limit to the number of people we've acted this out with. So it's pretty strange, isn't it? That's the summary. That's how it happens. Simple. And it's coming from my unhealthy relations with God, self, and or others. So the cure is get it right. Communion, man. Let's do it. Love, God, self, and others. Commune with God, be responsible with self, and connect with others. And boundaries play into it as follows. Boundaries are not a cure like we're thinking. Set hard boundaries and you'll no longer be a victim. I already said codependence is not just a victim. It's anyone and everyone involved in this whole cycle. So boundaries are not, there's the line, there's the wall, don't go past it, now I'm safest. No. Boundaries come from my feeling safe within God. There's no others yet, forget that. I'm tuning into God, feeling nice communion and safety and connection with God. Communion, right? And now I'm starting to feel a healthier self. I'm working on self-healing, which means instead of others, I'm going to work on my issues, my low self-worth, my fears, my triggers, my wounds, and so on. I'm starting to get healthier. And because I'm getting healthier, I'm now learning how to relate to others differently. Yes, I learned to communicate with them and have better connection, like intimacy with them, affection and intimacy. But one thing I have to know how to do is have healthy boundaries, which is part 2 of the second relationship. Have healthy boundaries with others. And here's how that works. When others are mirroring back to you that you have an issue or they want something, they try to take, they trample you. When they're mirroring back to you an unhealthy karmic scenario, loop, instead of a gifting one, you learn to say instead of, oh my God, and reacting and getting hooked in, they throw you the hook because we have some old karmic patterns that come back to bite us. They throw you the hook. It could be your parents saying, after all we've done for you, how could you do that career instead of the one we wanted you to? That's codependence. But if you do the career they tell you to do, you're a codependent as well because you're bargaining your higher self away. Or it could be your children. Oh man, you're becoming all kind of spiritual nutcase. Why don't you just get grounded? Me and my friends, we don't believe in that. Oh, I feel terrible that my children feel that way. You're a codependent and they're a codependent. Again, even when your boss, others, says, or your people at work say, we need you to put in triple time. We need you to work till you die. I can't. Oh, well, then we can give this job to somebody else who wants the money. Oh my gosh, then I better go to work so I don't lose my job. Codependent, codependent. See? Boundaries would say, wait, hold on. Like there are no others for a moment. First of all, let me look at what you're triggering inside of me. Wow, that really triggers a lot of low self-worth. I've been at this place, this job for, 500 years or 37 years or whatever it is. And you guys don't even care about me, right? I mean, I've been here longer than anyone. And you're willing to fire me that easily? Mom, Dad, you're willing to turn your back because I won't become what you want me to be? Kids, I'm too spiritual, so you're ashamed of me? Really? You could learn and say, what does that bring up in me? Wow. Fear of abandonment, fear of betrayal. Good job. Now heal, work on it. Cry, pray, work on it. Scream, counsel, 12-step program, work on it. And then, after you've looked at some of the inside stuff, go within and disappear into God and say, God, the weirdest thing just happened. My kids or whomever did this, it triggered this, and now I'm with you. And I want to know you. I want to feel your presence, God. I want to know what it's like to feel this, not flipped around where others are the connection, the priority. I go within and I connect with God. God, here I am. I worked on it and I'm very sad. And I feel triggered a little that people could do this, but I've worked on it, processed it a bit, counseling it a bit, learning about my vulnerabilities, that's self-healing. And now I surrender to you what I really want to feel instead of what I thought I wanted from them. And what triggered in me, what I really want to feel is you and your love. Bring me your love, God. And that's like a meditating, communing. Meditating, communing. You pray what you're looking for and then ask and receive. Ask in prayer and receive in meditation. People turn to ask and receive into ask for pots of gold and get it. It's materialism again disguised as spirituality. Ask and receive is first spiritual, last material, but it can be material. But if you don't get the spiritual thing you're asking for, what's the point? Once again, pot of gold is a relationship with others. And if you don't have the other two, the pot of gold is going to become a pot, a cesspool kind of a pot. So we go inside and we say, here I am, God. And we fill. Wow. I've taken my hurtful experience with others, gone within, done some self-healing, and now I commune with God. Wow, that's cool. Then I go the other way now. I went in, now I got to go the other way. So now after I have this communion with God, I say, okay, this was nice to feel God here, but I need to feel God all the way through and have a holistic relationship. So here goes my relationship with God, and I say, go with me, God. Let's go back into me again. When I went this way, I went from triggered to self-healing to God. Now I go God to boundaries to others. Boundaries means now that I've taken a moment to heal, I don't feel triggered. So I'm not going to react. I'm going to respond in a minute. I go and connect with God. I bring God back into the moment. I say, now given the moment that I'm in, I'm about to have a conversation with so-and-so that said they're going to dump me or whatever they're going to do. People that are going to treat me this way or yell at me or whatever it is that seems hurtful. I'm back and I need to ask myself, what would be the healthiest way to communicate with them? Communication is an other relation, see? What's the healthiest way? I'm going to need to remember my boundaries. I'm going to need to know what works and doesn't work for me. See, that's boundaries. Boundaries are not defenses. I'm ready. I got my boundaries up. Boundaries, you don't put up your boundaries. They emit because your boundaries are just like the human aura. They don't zip up around you like a bag. They emanate from within you and they become a force field. So picture this, guys. My aura emanates out to here and it creates kind of an etheric protective mesh, like a force field. Kind of cool. Keeps certain energies from invading too much and all that. But a healthy one keeps that out. But a broken down aura allows too much weird stuff, energies and all that to get into my systems. Unhealthy radiations, vibrations, entities, or whatever you believe. But Boundaries are my psychological aura. Boundaries aren't literally a light that emanates like an aura. It's an air that emanates like my aura. And it does emanate. And when you have healthy boundaries, people can tell there's this center. And they'll be like, how come we can't push your buttons anymore? First, there's the good cop, bad cop. Remember that routine in many movies? You play the good cop, you play the bad cop. That's what the ego's going to do. You tell mom and dad, I'm really sad. I tuned in for a moment. I took a minute. Parents were saying, we're going to disown you if you don't do our career, or whatever scenario you use. I'm just using examples. Husbands, wives, partners, whatever. You say, I have to go to the bathroom, and use that as your excuse to go. And wow, God, I feel upset, but let me track this for a second. Let me breathe. Let me connect with God. Can take just a few minutes, sometimes more if you want it, but minutes at least. And then you say, okay, I'm ready. I feel connected to peace within me. And now I'm recognizing, here's my boundary. I'm ready to go and communicate. My boundary is going to be, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I need to really be true to myself. I walk out there and my vibe is going to be true to myself. That's my boundary. True to myself. True to myself. And now all of my communications need to reflect my boundaries. If I go out there and I say true to myself, please don't be mad at me. I'll give it up if you want me to. You weren't true to yourself. You just bit into the codependence again. True to myself. Mom, Dad, listen, really sorry that the conversation went south here. It just feels like everybody's getting kind of upset. At least that's the way it feels to me. And see, when I'm speaking from boundaries, I speak about myself. I don't tell you what you're feeling. I'm coming from here. It feels to me like things are off a little bit. If I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying, husband, wife, kids, whomever, you don't like me anymore. You don't love. I'm too spiritual. I'm too airy fairy. I'm too out there. I shouldn't believe in fairies and angels. I shouldn't believe in God. I need to focus more, work more. I need to do this more and that more. That just doesn't feel like it's me. But I did hear you. I'm not trying to change your mind. I did hear you. You're saying that this could cause you to disconnect from me, disown me, divorce me, whatever. I'm really, really sad to hear that, and I need to go process that somewhere. But I am clear. This is what I'm going to do. To mine own self, be true. This is where I'm going. I hope you change your mind, but if you don't, just know that this is where I'm at. Now, I'm not telling you guys where and when to say yes or no. I'm saying that when your insides have told you something, you might need to be true to that. All I know is when you do know and you feel like you're going to be true, I'm describing simply how to then proceed. If you believe it to be true, stay true to it. And the boundary would be, I'm sorry you feel that way, but here's where I'm at. See, that's a boundary. I'm not going to acquiesce to your pressure. But I don't say those words. I don't sound threatening or defensive. I sound sincere and vulnerable. It is a bummer. I am really kind of sad that you feel this way, but okay. I hear you, and I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm not sorry I'm making my choice. I'm sorry you feel that way. Sorry just in the sense that I'm sad to see that. And that's really holding your ground and sticking to your boundaries. Boundaries are not a defense. They're not walls, remember? They come from God. Not God literally saying, do this and don't do that. It comes from my connection, my commune with God. My communion tells me. God simply says, I love you. Be true to love. Got it, God. Now I go into myself and go, boundary time. Be true to love. Be true to self-worth. Got it. Now I step out to the relationship with others. Now I'm out here speaking to you, others of any kind, and my communications need to still be loving, maintaining boundaries, still communicating. So I do so. Here's where I'm at. Tactful, loving. There's a whole, laundry list, a short laundry list I can share about the techniques for healthy communication. And I've done that in talks and it's in the relationships book. But keep that in mind. It's just so beautiful. So closing, communion, responsibility, connection. Wow, it's perfect. I got it. I don't go to others to get anything. I don't try to find things within myself without having any spiritual connection. I don't try to be with myself and not be with others. Any one piece, two pieces isn't complete. All three pieces and each aspect of each of those three. Two parts, two parts, two parts, or summarized as one, one, one. And in a sense, like the Trinity of God, we call it, the Trinity of relationship is also, of healthy relationship, is also one. At some point, we don't call it God, self, and others anymore. There's a point where you can't call it anything else because it's the same. It's just love now, expressed in these three forms. The old trifecta, right? Just three facets, three expressions. That's what the description in Hinduism and Catholicism and other places, the Trinity of God is one. It's the Trinity as one, but they're like three aspects or expressions of the one God. And that's what relationship is. Three expressions of really one thing, real love. But if I would have talked about love too much here or titled this love, it starts to sound like we're talking about romance. We're not. We're talking about the consciousness of perfect, pure love. When it really kicks in, it doesn't just manifest as cute things in your life. It manifests as holiness, your wholeness and holiness, oneness with God, total oneness and real self shows up, right? And then my ability to connect with others, to live and love others. And it doesn't mean you move them all into your house, you marry them all, you mate with them all, you parent them all. It doesn't mean that. It means the love is consistent as best I can on a daily basis, but it looks different from one person to another. That's the ticket. I pray this all makes great sense. Thanks for tuning in and for listening, sharing. If this didn't make sense, then move on, Try something else that might help you in a different way with your relations. If it did make sense, hallelujah. Praise God, praise your true self, and praise all life and all beings.